Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. A couple of weeks ago we did Whatever Week, where I just asked my patrons to tell me whatever they wanted me to check out without any sort of overarching theme. I unfortunately got sick during that and I couldn't finish the last 3 requests. So that's what we're going to be doing on these Saturdays. Today we're going to be looking at one. Next Saturday, the second, and the Saturday after, we'll look at the final song that was picked for that theme. So, today we're going to look at some Streetlight Manifesto. Looking at the song A Moment of Silence off of the 2003 album Everything Goes Numb. Let's dive in, see what Streetlight Manifesto is bringing to the table today. Okay, so I'm digging the open snare. Interesting reverb on that. The groove is infectious, though.
A moment of silence, please, for those that never get the chance to show up to the party, but they never ask to dance. The losers, the liars, the bastards, the thieves, the cynicists, the pessimists, and those that don't believe in nothing.
We have horns, alto sax maybe, trumpet, ooh, baritone maybe. Take the bottle and I'm dipping for all my heroes that have passed. The last you've left is but your stories, they will last. Uninspired by the recruiting. Nice bass line, guitar strumming on 2 and 4, giving us that bouncier feeling. Trombone. I didn't catch this earlier, but this is a cross stick technique.
A moment of silence, please, for those that never get the chance to show up to the party,
oh, that's good.
Never ask to dance. The losers, the liars, the bastards, the thieves, the citizens, the pessimists, and those that don't believe in nothing.
The hi-hat work on this is so good.
The Santa Claus upon your house, upon your family, and everyone you ever knew, and everyone you'll ever meet. I bet they think we wish we joined when we could, but we do what we want, we don't do what we should. Now everybody's laughing cause they're thinking they're in on something I don't get. Don't forget, I connect and I heard every word you said, like a child who believes he was wrong. You hate me so much, then stop singing my songs.
So there's our second horn solo. Trombone the first time around, sax the second.
I don't know, but I like to think I had control. Some boy, but I let it go and lost my soul.
Yeah, dude, that is right up my alley. But I have a quick question. What genre is this? Like, there's definitely some reggae influence to it. The rock instrumentation plus brass feels very ska, but ska to me is more upbeat and dancey. This is more laid back, so it kind of brings in that reggae vibe. We also have more of a, it's not necessarily spoken word, but it is kind of sing-songy vocal style. There are certainly more traditionally sung sections, such as that oh at the beginning of the chorus. We have that long O and then a series of notes before moving back into a series of faster delivered syllables that really don't focus as much on pitch. Again, kind of moving towards that sing-songy element. So that doesn't really fit with much of what I've discussed here either, any of the influences I'm hearing. And so to me, I don't know, like it feels like a pop punk style with a few different influences from outside of punk. I mean, ska is punk adjacent too, but reggae isn't. I don't know. I don't know where to place this, but I do enjoy what I'm hearing, and I think that that is more important. I like to categorize things, and usually it's kind of like a series of tick boxes. What kind of chord progressions do we have? What kind of melodies are we seeing? What kind of rhythmic devices are we seeing? And then all those combined with like the timbres of the song, I can kind of like piece together what kind of genre it is. And here I really can't. And I find that to be interesting. I'm going to say that this is just like a blind spot for me. It's a genre I'm not aware of. And once y'all tell me the name of it, I can begin to kind of hear that in other songs. At least that's my hypothesis at this point. Let's see though. Music. What's going on here? This is very chill and laid back, but has momentum, which may seem contradictory, but it really isn't. The tempo of this is very chill. Our snare accent is primarily just on beat 3. And this is a bit laid back too. Usually you're driving, things are going to be 1 and 3. And 2 and 4 tends to be a bit laid back. But here's the thing about 2 and 4 is that we get guitar strums on those. So our accent pattern is actually 2, 3, and 4, depending on what instruments you're listening to. And I really love that because the 2 and 4 guitar hits gives it this sort of bounciness. Because depending on how you feel the tempo, that is it's you'd have to feel it pretty quickly for those to be offbeats. But the idea here is generally that they embody the same part as the midpoint between beats. Nothing else in the band is really emphasizing those moments that the guitar is. Everyone else is emphasizing 1 and 3, or 1 or 3. And so for the guitars to kind of be in here, they're between all the other accent points. They are functionally similar to playing on the offbeats, which gives it a bounciness, where the attacks coming in aren't on what is perceived to be the downbeat itself, the core pulse. And so you get this bouncy feeling. But then you also get that rigid, backbeat, kind of slowing the pace down snare on 3. We don't get a lot of accents from the drum, and it's only on 3, which kind of feels like it's wanting to lean back, it's wanting to slow down, but the guitars are wanting to bounce, they're wanting to have energy and movement, and that duality there, I think, drives a lot of this song. It's what allows it to feel as quickly paced as it is, while never really feeling like we're moving too quickly. It feels like it's a very chill song, but it doesn't feel stagnant. Now, part of this is also the vocals. These vocal lines are delivered quickly. There are probably a ton of lyrics to this song. It sounds like there's just a lot of words when I was listening to it. And like I said, a lot of this kind of comes through in sort of a sing-songy kind of way where pitch is not necessarily important, but it's not spoken word either where pitch is entirely disregarded. There is also, though, a hyper focus on rhythm of trying to cram in a lot of syllables into a small space to deliver a massive wall of text to the listener in a way that is still rhythmically interesting. And this is where a lot of the drive comes from, where the guitars kind of keep things light with their rhythmic idea, kind of keep things bouncy and on their toes. The vocals push the song forward. They're always trying to get to that next word, to that next sentence as quickly as possible because they're trying to cram so much information down into such a small amount of time. And really, these three instruments, I think, are what drive the seemingly contradictory feeling of laid back with momentum that the song does a fantastic job of residing within. But there's also the emotional weight of all of this too. The chords that the guitar is playing is very chill and laid back, very upbeat. There's not a lot of tension or dissonance or darkness to the guitar chords at all. It's very feel good, laid back, everything is fine chord progression. It's interesting to juxtapose this with the bass line, which has these wonderful moving bass ideas. I love listening to the bassist. There's a nice rhythmic push and pull there, usually kind of sticking to a single rhythmic device, usually just quarter notes or eighth notes, but occasionally speeding things up or slowing things down just to create a nice push and pull at specific moments throughout the song. But like I was talking about emotion, we're talking about notes here, pitches. The bass primarily sits in that same realm that the guitar is, looking at a chill, happy, positive, laid back vibe, but occasionally throws in a couple of darker, uh, I don't know, lower notes. It's kind of not necessarily add. Darkness is kind of the wrong word there. It's a bit of tension that gets tossed in every now and then as a spice to keep the song from feeling overly positive, too sweet. Just kind of add a little bit of tension in places. If nothing else, I kind of read it on more of an emotional level of a way of clashing with this more positive element, but it also just creates tension, which allows for resolution, which makes chord progressions feel good. And so maybe the bass is doing it on a purely functional level, but I want to read it as this sort of duality, a darkness beneath the positive, surface level element. The brass also contribute to a lot of this, just more positive vibes, occasionally bringing in some tension, but again, that feels more functional, at least to me, not like the bass. The bass feels like there's narrative purpose to it. The brass and, well, the saxophone too, although it is also made out of brass, it's typically not known as a brass instrument. Which, fun fact, most of that comes down to embouchure, how you play, and how sound is created. Saxophone is a woodwind, not because it's made out of wood, but because it is a vibrating piece of wood that creates the sound in the mouthpiece. Whereas brass instruments, the vibrations come from vibrating the lips into a metal mouthpiece. No wood involved at all. So, anyways, though, I'm just going to call them the horns. The horn section here, they're just bright, fun. They keep the song pushing forward, and part of that job of pushing the song forward is to occasionally introduce a bit of tension for resolution's sake, so that the song feels like it can go somewhere harmonically. So, yeah, I like that duality in the music. There is mostly positive, chill vibes. I would not call this a dark, dreary, sad song by any statement, but it does have something brewing underneath that I really like sitting there as juxtaposition to the, very bright, happy sounds that sit on the surface of the track. Now, speaking of the brass, we got a trombone, we have a trumpet, probably an alto sax, The trumpet gets to shine most of the time just by virtue of being the highest pitched instrument here. They sit on top of all of the horn stacks, but they don't get a solo. The trombone gets a solo at the beginning of the track, about a minute and a half in. At first, I thought this might have been a baritone. I was trying to figure out what low-end brass instrument it could be. But once I started to hear some of the slide techniques in the solo, yeah, it's a trombone, and it sounds great. I love this section. I wish I could pull something narrative out of it, something artistic out of it. The solo itself, I think, is solid. I like the movement to it. I like how we have this nice push and pull, some faster sections, some slower sections, and also this shifting between legato and staccato style of playing, where legato is a bit more fluid, la 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 la, and staccato is more rigid, da 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 da. And we kind of hear both of those, where the trombone, which has basically a long slide that it uses to adjust pitch rather than like the trumpet, French horn, baritone, tuba, all those that are valve based, where you push down specific valves in order to change the pitch. Using this long slide, though, you can actually you get these really nice smooth transitions between pitch, and we actually hear those in the trombone solo, but they're juxtaposed with more direct bup 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 bup. That was backwards. As it goes down, it should get lower. Anyways, we have strong juxtaposition between the two of these styles of playing, and I just thought it made for great pacing throughout the solo itself. It was rather short, I think 8 bars tops, and I thought the pacing was good for that, though. I really don't think 8 bars you can get somebody bored in that time. You're not playing for a very long time to begin with. But I still think the pacing was well done. I just wish I could have pulled something narrative out of it. And the same goes for the sax solo later on towards the end of the track. It's a nice solo, functionally well. I don't have any issues with the performance of it. I think the pacing is well done. I didn't get anything out of it. It just feels like a solo for solo's sake. And maybe that's just me too, I mean, that's the thing with listening to a song for one time. There's going to be information, nuance, context that you just don't get. But I do enjoy the inclusion of them. I feel like even in like ska bands, the brass is, at least in my experience, the secondary component. They're a key sonic identity to the band, to the sound of skas, to have brass and sometimes saxophones. But they're usually, in my experience with the genre, texture. Sort of like, sort of like having, string or chords on a string section, on a digital string section in a symphonic metal band, right? Rather than actually using the strings in traditional classical ways, you just kind of have this sound of a string section around your metal band. You just call it a day. That's kind of how I feel the brass, the horns can get used in ska groups. And to hear them here, not just, I mean, they do show up at times to provide ornamental ideas, such as in the verse, or to provide timbre ideas, texture ideas in the chorus, where they do have a bit more of a melodic presence, but it's still kind of secondary to the vocals, kind of secondary to the laid-back feeling that the guitars and bass are bringing. Here, though, they get front and center. They get 2 dedicated melody sections. I love hearing that. Even if I don't find anything super narratively strong about it on my first time listen, I'm just glad to hear these instruments get a bit of the spotlight. And also, as much as I kind of wish the trumpet did, it's also cool to see the trumpet not getting the spotlight. It's usually the instrument that's like, hey, someone, we got a solo section who's, trumpet, trumpet, you're the guy, you do all the cool stuff. Trumpet always gets the best parts. So it's nice to see the trombone get the lead here for a moment. Now, to wrap this up, I do want to bring up the drums. This is just phenomenal. I love the drum work on here. Like I mentioned, we have a snare accent, usually on 3, sometimes on the and of 1 as well, as a way to kind of spice up the energy rather than 1 and 3. It's on the and of one. It's just after the downbeat of one. It gives it some anticipatory energy there, some syncopation that helps keeps things moving. But there's so much else that's going on with the drum kit. I mean, you got the bass kick that is kind of has a mind of its own. I expect it to go along with like the bass, but the bass is doing its own thing. So the drum kick really gets to explore its own area. And yeah, we get to hear some cool rhythms coming out of that, more syncopation. We hear some cross sticking on here, which is pretty cool. Rather than using pretend this is a drumstick, and using it to hit the head of the snare drum, the drum head, you actually kind of cross it over it, and you tap it onto the rim of the snare. And that creates a pretty cool sound. We get to hear some of that in here. But to me, what really stands out is the hi-hat work. So many cool rhythmic ideas here, and usually not in like a set idea. We're like, oh, we're just playing eighth notes here, or we have this 2-beat rhythm that we're going to play over and over and over. It feels like it's constantly evolving, constantly changing, like the drummer's just putting in these pockets of increased speed, moving from quarter notes to eighth notes to 16th notes on this hi-hat in random ways. I never really picked up a pattern on when he was going to do these bursts or rein it back in or anything like that. And to me, it makes the drums sound very alive, very human, very unpredictable in such an exciting way. And for a song that, for the most part, feels like it's trying to be laid back, having moments like these that really drive the song forward, I think it's a nice ebb and flow, the nice contrast there. When the song wants to lay back and chill, and when it wants to drive forward, and kind of seeing how it goes with the waves, goes with the flow on this. It's a very, I guess that's a good term for it. It's a song that rolls with the punches. It goes with the flow. Whatever feels natural at the time, it goes with it. Like a surfer, catching the waves. You gotta get aligned with what the body of water is doing, and that's what the song does best. I'm going to check out some lyrics here, and then we're going to wrap this one up. So this is an interesting track. There are a lot of words to this. It feels like a song of someone who has become disillusioned with hope, with change. They've lost hope for hope, in a sense. It says, a moment of silence, please, for those who never get the chance. They show up to the party, but they're never asked to dance. The losers, the liars, the bastards, the thieves, the cynics, the pessimists, and those that don't believe in nothing. So basically, all the people at the bottom of society, the ones who never get chances to do anything. He says, I'd like to take a moment of silence for all of them. The people who society forgets, who don't usually get that moment of silence, whose death might not be remembered, might not be put in obituaries, might not be talked about on social media. It starts out and says, I see you. The next stanza says, I've never met a loser that I didn't see eye to eye with. I love this line. To put himself in the same shoes as those at the bottom. He says, I've been where you are. Might even say that I stand where you are now. We're in this together. It says, I see eye to eye with the losers. He says, but I stare into your eyes and you look right past me into the air. What is it like to stand in your shoes, to have never felt the belt of someone's abuse? He says, I have empathy for you. We're on the same level here. How is it that you can still look past me? How pampered is your life to still be a loser but not see yourself in me? That is a wild stanza. And I think it talks a lot about this person's mental state, where they're coming from, and their perspective on all of this. He basically says we're all losers together at the bottom of this barrel, and yet somehow you still look past me when I'm trying to get all of us together, to show that we're more powerful as one rather than as independents. The next stanza says, I take the bottle, I tip it to all my heroes that have passed. Alas, you have left us, but your stories, they will last. So he says, we all have heroes, right? And they're gone. Maybe they've left the scene, maybe they've passed away. For whatever reason, no, they're not here anymore. He says, uninspired by the recruiting call, independent we stand, independent we fall. That all of the heroes are gone and no one is taking up the call to replace them. We are now a bunch of losers at the bottom of a barrel with no one to unify us, no message to help us stand together. And so we will fall as we are all independent. We're all alone now. The chorus kicks in. How long do you think you can go before you lose it all? Before they call your bluff and watch you fall? I don't know, but I'd like to think I had control at some point, but I had to let it go and lost my soul. Sit tight, but the revolution is years away. I'm losing faith and I'm running low on things to say, so I guess I have no choice but to regurgitate the tired anthem of a loser and a hypocrite. He's losing faith in whatever movement this is. The ability to rally people together, to work in large numbers, to make change happen. I really like that line, sit tight, but the revolution is years away. This idea that you should be ready to make change in the world, but yeah, we're going to put it off for a bit. And I think this is part of what's making him kind of fall out of love or luster with this feeling of revolution, of being part of this whole. No one's really wanting to do anything right now. If no one's wanting to do anything right now, what's the point in all this then? I find it interesting that these words, someone who is losing hope in hope, someone who is seeing the fall of resistance and revolution and watching return to status quo, and watching people content with the way things are, wanting things to be different, to be better, to kind of bring that fire back, but also knowing that they're not the person to rally people, that there needs to be a leader. It's not them, but it also isn't anyone else. And kind of losing their own drive for revolution, for change too. To pair this disillusionment with a song that's as laid back and chill as this, that feels as good to listen to. It's an interesting juxtaposition. I can dance to this music. I can chill out to this music. It puts a smile on my face. I like the way it sounds. And then I read the lyrics, and they're heavy. They're biting. I don't know how to pair that together. Maybe it's one of those things where you're supposed to dance through the pain. The words are heavy, the music isn't. It helps deliver the message and helps us deal with this as a collective. I don't know. These are my thoughts, though, on A Moment of Silence by Streetlight Manifesto. Let me know what your thoughts are, though. Is there anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation or opinion on the song. Please put all of that and any other thoughts you have down into the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, well, later today. We have the album review at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Tomorrow, though, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing a live stream, probably about 2.5 hours long. We're going to look at 12 songs, usually really good discussion in there as well. The analysis is a bit lighter than the usual reactions. It's just a good time to hang out, listen to some good music, chit-chat with people in the community. If you can make it, I highly suggest it. Otherwise, Monday I'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as usual to start off next week's theme. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.